How much a day of war costs in Ukraine, Israel, etc. 4. Ukraine. $100 million. The war in Ukraine is the biggest armed conflict today. It's the only ongoing full-scale interstate war. Ukraine is not fighting insurgents or local separatists. Russia has one of the world's largest armies. It had more armored vehicles than any other force on the planet. Not anymore though. Ukraine's resistance has weakened Russia's military capabilities, but Russia still has air superiority and endless personnel reserves. Now it also has weapons from Iran and North Korea. Countering this constant threat is not cheap. 3. Israel. $246 million. Israel's spending mostly comes from acquisitions. The IDF has purchased equipment on an unprecedented scale. Indeed, Israel has already spent so much, it's hurting the economy. S&P downgraded Israel's rating from stable to negative, but the government is worried about the future. Israel's offensive in the Gaza Strip has angered its neighbors, so it's rearming itself for a possibility of a multi-front war. Israel has purchased tens of thousands of missiles, bombs, radars, vehicles, drones, etc. It's been estimated that the war with Hamas will last up to a year. It's expected to cost $51 billion, around 10% of Israel's GDP. Israel is also a welfare state. The government has pledged to help everyone affected by the Hamas attacks. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said he'd open the taps. 2. United States and Afghanistan. $300 million. Between 2001 and 2021, the U.S. spent $2.26 trillion in Afghanistan. That's $300 million per day. $800 billion was spent directly on fighting the war. $85 billion more was spent to train the Afghan army. Afghan soldiers received $750 million a year from America. The cost of caring for 20,000 U.S. casualties was $300 billion. Another $500 billion will be spent on further care. The United States financed the Afghan war with borrowed money. More than $500 billion in interest has already been paid. By 2050, the cost of interest alone could reach $6.5 trillion. 1. Russia. $300 million. Russia has committed everything to the war in Ukraine. In the first 100 hours of the invasion, it lost $7 billion. This was due to direct military losses, but indirect losses for the economy have been bigger. Russia has lost many international markets. Divestment and sanctions have caused billions more in damages. It's hard to say how much Russia will have lost in the end, but equipment and human losses alone have amounted to billions. In the first months of 2022, Russia was losing $20 billion a day. The situation has somewhat stabilized since then. Forbes estimated the first 18 months of war to have cost $167.3 billion. This only includes direct military spending and equipment losses. Military operations cost Russia around $51.3 billion. Salaries for the servicemen cost another $35.1 billion. $46.6 billion was spent on compensations for the families. Russia is now spending around $300 million a day